Shemai. So, the Flight Pathfinder solid body transparent blue electric ukulele. It's part of their rock series. I have done a little unboxing video of it, but basically this was my Christmas present. So I'm going to go through the specs, do a full review, and do a little bit of a demo for you as well. Right, so what do we know about this electric ukulele? It's a tenor size. It's roughly £222, Great British pounds, but obviously the equivalent in other currencies. So it's a really reasonably priced ukulele. As I said, it's part of their rock series. They've done another model as well, the Centurion, which is more sort of based on a Les Paul style guitar, whereas this is of course based on a nice Fender Stratocaster. Right, so I've got to say I am very lucky. When these first appeared on Flight, on their Instagram and Facebook and everywhere else, I knew then I had to have one, and it was going to be this year's Christmas present. And it just so happened I saw a post from Southern Ukulele on Facebook with a picture. I knew exactly what it was straight away. Boom, straight on the website, managed to buy one. And they've been pretty much out of stock ever since, so I do know I'm incredibly lucky. So solid body, steel strings. You could probably compare it closer to the Reza, but of course that is a lot more expensive. There are cheaper solid body electric ukes available as well, but the price this was, I thought, no, let's have a little go of this and see what it's like. Plus, I've already got some Flight ukuleles as well. So, reasonably priced to start with. The actual specs. Now, the top, okay, it's a maple veneer top in what can only be described as the most gorgeous gradient of colour. Let me come in a bit closer. Now I'm just letting you enjoy the beauty of that for a minute. It's a two-piece maple top. The grain on the top really is very, very pretty. Sort of turquoisey blue grading through to a sort of cream colour with a really nice cream binding going around the edge. The back of it is a very royal deep blue. It's transparent. You can see the wood grain through it. It's not the prettiest of wood grains. Basswood or basswood never is. But it's a very, very good looking instrument. In terms of the actual finish of it, the quality, really, really good. I can't see any massive flaws in it. There's no big scratches or chunks or anything like that. Very, very pretty pick guard as well with the pearl on there. I do like that. So in terms of looks, straight off, it's an absolute stunner. Okay, the neck, it's a roasted maple neck, not just any maple, but roasted. From what I can see, it's a two-piece neck, but it's not joins at the heel or at the top up there. It's actually got a fingerboard, still in roasted maple, on the top of it. Okay, so let me just, again, I'll bring this in a bit closer because the grain on this neck really is okay. It's a thing of beauty. It's a nice narrow neck, 35mm nut. The headstock itself isn't quite as Fender looking as the rest of the body. It's got this thing here is called a string tree. It's for holding the strings in place, okay, because it's an inline headstock, so it needs to hold down the top two strings. It's quite big. I do wonder, you can also get like little roller string trees, which might have been a little bit more subtle, but it does the job. A nice Flight logo. It is inlaid on there. It isn't just a sticker on the top. Unbranded tuners, but they work perfectly well. Something you need to consider with a steel string, you've only got to turn them a tiny, tiny little bit. The tuners are very sensitive, okay? But they all work perfectly well. I haven't even taken off, it's awful, I haven't taken off the white stickers yet. I'll do that later. So that's the neck view, roasted maple. It's got side markers, which is always very handy. It's got a bone nut, and then this thing here, okay, it's a 0 fret, which just really helps with intonation. When you've got a bit of a drop coming off the nut, it helps, especially if you're bending strings. All right, so it's got a 0 fret in it, so that's a really nice little feature. The strings themselves are very, very light gauge. It's taking me a little while to get used to playing a steel string. The only other steel string uke I've got is my oil can ukulele, and that needs a fair bit of work doing to it. So this is my go-to steel string at the minute. Now you've got to press the strings much, much lighter. Okay, and when I demo it in a minute, you'll see I'm actually strumming much lighter as well. It's 22 frets. They're not bad. There are 1 or 2 sharpish frets on here. My other Flight ukes, I've got to say the frets were extremely smooth. I'm not going to say unplayable at all. I haven't done anything to them yet, but that's something I will look at, is just give a few of them a little rub back in the future. It's a bolt on neck and a string through body. So that's how you actually change the strings. Okay, they go through there. And the bridge, it's a lovely little bridge. It's called a hardtail fixed bridge, but basically you can do a lot of adjusting with the intonation and the height of the strings from there as well. Okay, so that's most of the hardware covered. The actual electrics, it's got a double humbucker pickup by the bridge and a single coil pickup by the neck. Again, I'll run through the controls when I play it in a moment. It's got a switch, so you can choose just humbucker, both, or just neck pickup. Volume and tone control on it. With the actual strings, obviously I haven't had this very long, but as far as I'm aware, you can put normal guitar strings on it, but that's something when I go to change them, I'll have a look. They're steel strings, as I mentioned earlier, but it's a low G, okay, and it's a wound low G. Other features I should mention, it comes with both strap buttons, and it is something you're going to really need to use a strap for. It's quite weighty, and you don't tend to hold it in quite the same way as you would an acoustic ukulele. It comes with a really nice gig bag. Okay, now this comes with it, didn't have to pay anything extra. It's padded, I'd say at least 10, maybe even 15 mil padding on there. Hang on, let me just put that down for a second. Inside, nice neck holder, keeping the electric uke nice and safe. Accessory pocket, handles. My only gripe with this case it doesn't have a rucksack strap. All right, that's my only little moan about the case. Other than that, it's a lovely quality case and it's going to look after your ukulele. Right, so just before we play it, what have we learned so far? It looks stunning. Very reasonable price. Overall build quality is very good. One or two little sharp frets, maybe a smaller string tree, but other than that, so far, absolutely loving it. Let's try playing it. It's plugged in, but the amp isn't actually on at the minute. All right, it's very quiet because it's a solid body, so there's nothing acoustically to make the sound. Also, you've got to remember, with anything electric, we're all using different equipment. So even though we might have the same ukulele, I'm going through a Warwick CCL amplifier. Depends what you were going through, all right? What I have done is put a microphone right in front of it, so you should hear just what is coming out. All the controls are all just flat on the amp, and at the moment, no effects, okay? So, we're plugged in, right. As I said, we've got the 2 different pickups and 3 different options. So just going on, first of all, the volume. All right, fairly obvious. The tone. Okay, I'm just going to have the tone in the middle for a minute. Right, neck pickup. Now, the other thing is, this is very different to play than a traditional acoustic ukulele, and you're going to end up playing different things on them. All right, but as I mentioned earlier, you've got to be very light. So that is the neck single coil pickup. Both pickups. Then we go to the humbucker, so the bridge pickup. Okay, now it's going to take a lot of playing and messing around with to get all the different sounds that you can out of it. You know, if I turn the tone right down and go to the neck pickup. Turn the tone right up. Okay, and then again, change the different pickups, change the tone. So tone right down. Quite a sort of a muted sound, whereas if you turn the tone up, a much brighter sound. So that's the uke, just messing about with the controls for a minute. It's difficult playing different things on this because this isn't what I would normally it would be. And it's very different techniques. I'm just using my fingers. When I first got it, I thought I'm going to have to use a pick. And I'm not a massive pick user anyway. And I just find it a little bit... All right, I'm being a little bit harsh, but you get the idea. So at the moment, I'm concentrating more on getting a nice technique just using my fingers. So still no effects, just plugged straight from uke into amp for a minute. Right, so the disclaimer, I am not a guitarist, I am not a shredder, I'm not even a brilliant uke player, but I've always wanted to be a rock chick, so I'm going to just try it now with a few effects. There we are. I'm in an awful mess with the effects at the minute because I've just had some more new ones in, and I'm messing about at the moment with the effects board, UFX, because there may be some new things happening in that very soon. Anyway, let's just try a couple of effects on here now. Remember, the sounds are going to be different depending on what amp you're using, depending on what effects you're using, and of course there's a massive difference between what a steel string ukulele sounds like and a nylon string. So that is just a little bit of reverb delay, and I've got a new EQ pedal. Little bit of auto wah, little bit of overdrive distortion this time. Bit of crunch distortion there. And just to show it isn't all about shredding and making a horrible noise. And the Beethoven only had a little bit of reverb, a tiny little bit of delay. So there we are. That is my Flight Pathfinder solid body electric ukulele. I love it. I'm not going to lie. I think it's a lovely, lovely instrument, and I'm very glad I jumped at the chance of buying it. Obviously, I am messing about with effects a lot, and this was one of the reasons why I really wanted a steel string ukulele, because they do sound very different to nylon string ukes. The good points, price-wise, I think it's very reasonable, around about the £220 mark. So I think it's excellent value, stunning to look at. All right, there's no getting away from that fact at all. Although Flight, the only thing I would say about the look of it, Do it in purple. Can you imagine purple going to a black and a royal purple the other side? Just saying. The overall build quality, I think, is very good. I can't say it's outstanding just because there's one or two sharpish frets. But I do think for the price you're paying for this, it is very, very good build quality. It is very different to play than an electroacoustic. There is another model in the Flight Rock series called the Centurion. I don't have that yet. So there we are. I do hope you've enjoyed. As always, if you've got a comment or a question, please feel free to drop it below. Give us a like if you've enjoyed, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on new videos. Thank you for watching.